These are the most insane Amazon rainforest stories ever told on Joe Rogan, from deadly encounters to mind-blowing discoveries that rewrite history. The Amazon rainforest holds secrets that most people will never experience firsthand, but Joe Rogan has hosted the brave explorers, wildlife experts, and researchers who ventured deep into the world's most dangerous jungle and lived to tell incredible tales. Starting with Paul Rosolie's giant anaconda encounter. In one of the most jaw-dropping stories ever told on JRE, Paul Rosolie recounted his terrifying close encounter with a massive anaconda that nearly cost him his life. His vivid description of being in the coils of one of nature's most powerful predators had Joe Rogan and listeners on the edge of their seats, proving that the Amazon's reputation for danger is well-earned.
This is the largest scientifically wild-caught verified anaconda that we have.
Wow.
In scientific literature. I mean, there's people have records of bigger ones. I've seen bigger ones. We named her Eleanor after my grandmother.
That's the 18-foot one.
This is the 18 feet 6 inches. She was 220 pounds, but she was hungry. She was...
Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
So if that one that got a hold of you, that's not this one. It's a different one.
No, the one that got a hold of me was 5 feet shorter than this one. This thing is a dragon. This thing is like the Kraken. There's no way.
No, how big do they get?
That's JJ, by the way. I keep talking about him. Okay, so here's my measurement. And actually, somebody recently sent me a video of you and Forrest Galante.
Yeah.
Talking about this, about how big can an anaconda get. Me and JJ were out on this place called the Floating Forest one night, and I was thinking about getting on the cover of National Geographic. I was thinking about getting attention at that time.
Right.
And but we had gone deeper down the Amazon rabbit hole than anyone had ever gone. We found this place, the Floating Forest, where you're walking on rafts of floating grass, and you're walking past treetops. So there's a forest underneath the lake, but you're walking on the surface of it. And the anacondas love it.
Wow.
Because they can sit on these grassy islands, and if anything comes, the whole thing is like a giant tympanic membrane. As soon as something takes a step, they're like, threat, and they go down. And just like any big fish, just like any ancient giant crocodile, those shrewd old motherfuckers that have been there for a century, that's where they live. And so we were out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're walking on these grassy rafts, and JJ's going, "This is anaconda." And I went, "That is not anaconda," because the grass was pushed down, but it was this big. And I was like, this can't be anaconda. He's going, "This is." He goes, "If it was a crocodile," he goes, "you'd see the feet." And I was like, "It just can't be." And then at middle of the night, the stars are shining in the black water and everything, and we're by the tops. We're in the canopy of a forest on top of a lake, and we see 2 anacondas. One of them is so big that I would say it was probably 24, 25 feet. Gigantic. That was an 18-footer. Then there was another a 16-footer on it. And my first response was, we have to catch this snake. And so I jumped on it. I just didn't think about it. I just jumped on the snake.
Oh, my God.
And so the snake, and, I always say pics or it didn't happen. But this was the middle of the night. I jumped on the snake. And as I'm holding it, the one measurement I have is that I was holding onto the snake and my fingers couldn't touch. That's how big this thing was. And so it dragged me to the edge of the grass.
What?
That big.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Your fingers couldn't touch.
Yeah. So
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so big.
It's so fucking big. And people said, "Oh, did it eat something?" And it's like, no, that was how big the snake was. And I know, because when she got to the edge of the grass, I dipped in head first. And this snake could have turned around and just eaten me. She didn't. Her head was bigger than a Rottweiler. It's bigger than Marshall's.
Oh my God.
But she dove into the water. Her idea is just escape, stay alive. So she goes down, and my face poked into the water, and I was like, fuck that. You look straight down into hell down there. And I was sitting there holding onto the grass with this giant anaconda rushing by me, 25 feet of anaconda slithering past me. And I put my hand on her. And as she went by, my hand eventually went, and then her tail slipped by me. And I was just alone in the dark in the Amazon. And I'd just seen this dragon. And then I turned around and went, "What the fuck happened to JJ?" And JJ's just standing there, and he turned completely white. And he was his circuits were blown. He was like... And I was like, "You could have helped." I was like, You could have helped, man.
So can you just help me out here? So the treetops, essentially there's water under the treetops. So you're walking on the treetops. Yeah. So how deep is the water below you?
Like 30, 40 feet.
So you're essentially walking on
grassy islands, floating vegetation.
Is it like in this video? Is
so
it
yes,
the same similar terrain?
So yes, and thank you for not playing the sound on this, but yeah, it's basically exactly like this. See those islands over there?
Yeah.
There's floating grass, and so this is actually how we caught the big one. Everyone starts. JJ has unlocked everything. JJ's like, there's an anaconda. Nobody else saw it. And then I'm the only person that's willing to fuck with the head. And so they get the boats. This is literally how we caught the biggest anaconda that's ever been caught. So the camera guy, I was like, get the fuck out of here. And I just remember in this moment being like, do I really want to do this? Do I really do I really want to do what I signed up to do?
Do you see it in the grass?
I can see it here. And I'm just going, please. I wish. Can I turn back?
And so, for the people just listening, you're standing on the edge of the boat, you jump off into the grass, and you run. And
thankfully, I have a good
GoPro on?
Yep. And then you see there's my team. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody jumping in. So we had all these people that have all handled big snakes before coming in. And see, I don't have the head. We didn't have the head. JJ had the tail. JJ got the tail. This guy Jonas had the tail. Mosin had the tail. Lee had the tail. Everybody's holding on to the snake. We're using the boat to keep ourselves up. And then I got the head.
Whoa.
And then as soon as I get the head, I know I'm going to get wrapped again.
Oh, my God.
I mean, this is like, look at it. This is like...
And this is the 18-footer?
Yeah, this was the 18-footer. So
look at the size of this thing.
Yeah, so when people are like, why didn't you catch the 25-footer? I'm like, well, look at this.
The difference in just like I'm seeing how big this is, it's unbelievably big. And the idea that something was almost 10 foot bigger than this.
Yeah.
And much thicker around.
Much thicker around. This girl was skinny.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, in a second they'll show us walking with her.
That is so wild.
And you get a sense of really how big she is, but...
And you got to keep a hold of that. That bitch is going to swallow your head.
Yeah.
Look at it. What is that feeling like where you're holding on to the head of that thing?
Yeah, no, it's completely wild. And it was just, I honestly, in that moment, it was like, you want your best friends there. Because, man, that was scary. That was very scary.
And so what is the plan? What do you do with this once you capture it? Do you measure it and then let it go?
Yeah, so for this one... Here, look, there's a shot. There's a shot coming up where we kind of have her stretched out for a second. But with this one, we put a radio transmitter down her throat, and we were able to track her movements to learn about the home ranges of female anacondas.
So she swallows it?
Yeah, it's just like a big pill.
Oh, wow. How big? Like a Zippo lighter?
Sure, yeah. Look at that. Look at that head.
Oh, my God. Look at the teeth.
Yeah, they were like, that's the queen of the Amazon. But yeah, she was old. She had so many scars, and so we measured her 18 feet 6 inches, and then the friendly people at Discovery Channel changed it to 19 feet 6 inches on the show, which was always interesting.
How dare they?
How dare they?
That sounds like Hollywood.
Yeah,
you just got to juice it up just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just turn it up.
It's impressive enough, you fucks. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. It's so immense.
Next up, we have Forrest Galante. Galante dove deep into the legends and reality of giant anacondas lurking in the Amazon's depths. His expert analysis of massive snake encounters, combined with local indigenous stories passed down through generations, revealed that some myths might be based on terrifying truths that modern science is only beginning to understand.
And I can sort of understand that in a sense of like, I'm not an adrenaline junkie. Like I don't go for skydives or, any of that stuff. It doesn't drive me. But that thrill and rush I get of, darting a bear or working with a lion or doing, swimming with an anaconda, like that fuels me for weeks. Like I get getting goosebumps thinking about some of them right now because I get so excited by. And it's not just for a personal rush, but rather, we're doing it for work or whatever. But those moments stick with me forever. And I sort of get that, but not like I'm just going to risk my life over this climb or whatever, So
what are
it's
your
sort
thoughts
of different.
on giant anacondas? Like, because there's
Oh, boy.
always been this thing about enormous anacondas that live in the rainforest.
So, yeah, there's fascinating. So I love anacondas. I believe and I've got a colleague, Brian Fry, in Australia actually, and he has a similar belief that there are 30-foot anacondas. Now, 30 is a big anaconda, but you're talking about those mysterious, like 50, 100-footers.
Yeah.
Okay, so take out the Amazon and take out anacondas for a second.
Okay.
All right? Think about where all the largest snakes are in the world. Okay?
Florida.
Well, now, yes, but we've got all these wet tropical environments that house these huge snakes. In Indonesia, you have reticulated pythons, you have Burmese pythons, you have African rock pythons, Indian rock pythons, anacondas, all these big snakes.
Yeah.
The only place that has a wet, tropical, humid, high density of prey environment that doesn't have a massive snake is the Congo, Central Africa. Now,
Interesting.
stay with me. That area is home to some African rock python stuff, but not big monster anaconda size ones, right? But during World War II, there was a colonel who flew over there, and this was a well-respected colonel. I'm sure, Jamie, you'll be able to find this very quickly. A well-respected, like, I forget, he had like his wings or his patch of honor or whatever, like very distinguished, who him and his 2 passengers in the plane both reported a 100-foot-long snake. They flew over it once. They're like, wait a minute, what is that? They were Dutch Belgium in the Congo. They flew over it once, went, what is that? And flew over it 2 more times to verify it, and got so low to the ground that they said the snake struck at the airplane. And all 3 people, the pilot, this well-respected colonel, and the 2 passengers, had the exact same story of this giant snake in Central Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah, and yet no big snake has ever been proven from there. But it's also a very poorly biologically explored area. And most of the time, when these animals get this big, snakes or otherwise, they're in very low... Yeah, here's the picture.
They took a photo of it?
They did. Yeah, they did. They're in very low densities. So, that's the real photo over on the left there.
What did they think it was?
They thought it was a giant snake, a 50-foot long...
So that's the photo right there?
I believe so. But the story's fascinating of these colonels.
But they don't know like what kind of snake. They don't know if it was an anaconda or a python or...
It would be an undescribed species because the only snake there, the African rock python, doesn't get that big.
What is the biggest snake that we know? Oh, it says it measured approximately 50 feet in length, saw brown-green with a white belly, has a triangle-shaped jaw and a head 3 by 2 feet. Oh my God. A 3-foot head. The photo was later analyzed and verified to be genuine. Van Leerd claims that, is that how you say his name?
I'm not sure, but that was the Colonel, Remy Van Leerd.
As he flew lower for a closer inspection, the snake rose up approximately 10 feet, giving a warning that it would have attacked a helicopter if it had been within striking range.
But imagine flying over and having a snake sort of lunge at a helicopter.
Imagine a 3-foot snake head. Jesus Christ.
Jamie, do you mind going to my Instagram
Literally
quickly?
swallow you alive,
Dude,
easily.
look at this one. I posted a picture day before yesterday. This is 18 feet, and look at the size of it compared to me and how scary this snake is. Now, to think of, like you said, you're like an M&M to a snake that size.
You're a Tic Tac.
Yeah.
You're one of them chocolate-covered almonds that are so good for you.
Yeah.
Whoa, look at the size of that thing.
That's an 18-footer. And look at how,
God.
Granted, it's not 3 foot by 2 foot head, but still, that thing,
What's the weight on something like that?
It was over 200. It broke our scale.
Wow.
Yeah, it was over 200 pounds.
Wow. Indonesian villagers claim to have captured a python that is almost 49 feet long and weighs nearly 990 pounds.
I've seen this. It's not
Snake?
it's not verified at all.
Do they have an image of it?
This might be the one that's on the tractor. No, it's not. There's a fake one on a tractor that
It's fake?
floated around. Well, it's just very forced perspective. It's like a wide angle lens and the snake is right in front, but it looks massive.
But this is NBC. This is NBC News. Let's see if it has images, this sucker.
So these are all like retics and, there are big snakes out there.
Look at the size of that goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Jesus. So, what is the biggest snake? Is it a python? The biggest snake that we know of?
So the heaviest is the reticulated python.
Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah.
How big is that?
That's big. It's probably 20-ish. So there's quite a lot of 20-foot snakes out there. And then there's a couple 21, 22s, but that's it. And so there's all these rumors of 30-foot snakes and 40-foot snakes and blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing that's been verified outside of one skin, I believe, I want to say from Indonesia, that is like, but skin stretch. That's
That
the other
says
thing
it
too.
turns out to be a tall tale. It says when recreation park in Indonesia put a huge reticulated python on show last week, keepers insisted to reporters it was 49 feet long, make it the longest ever caught, but the find turned out to be a tall tale.
Yeah.
So how big was it exactly?
I bet it was 20-ish. 21, there it is.
Yeah, 21 feet. Still
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
It's a big snake, man.
But not 50.
Not 50.
I have no idea why the snake has shrunk, said one keeper when asked about the discrepancy as the snake lounged on a tree branch inside the cave.
Performance
But things
anxiety.
do shrivel up when you catch them.
Yeah.
You know, like fish do. Like when you
The
catch
animals?
a fish. Yeah.
Well, definitely when you tell people about it, but
Just when you show people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went fishing
would
here in Austin
dehydrate.
this morning.
Oh, did you really?
Right
Where?
downtown, literally right in front of the Google building.
Lady
we were
Bird
pulling
Lake?
Lady Bird Lake.
Yeah,
pulling
there's a lot of
out.
bass out there.
It was
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah,
man.
it's a great little spot.
Yeah, really fun.
Right in front of the Google building. That's
Right
funny.
in front of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest in the world is the python, right? So they are bigger than anacondas?
So it's sort of a toss-up. The reticulated python has been clocked as the heaviest snake in the world because they get fatter, but the anacondas have been clocked in slightly longer. I think 26 feet is the longest ever recorded.
Did you ever see the
verified.
Jennifer Lopez movie,
Yeah.
Anaconda?
The documentary? Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
It's such a corny movie,
It's
man.
so good. The bad, like, snake head, if
Oh,
you watch it
it's so
today.
bad.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. But that was always the rumor, is that there was enormous snakes in the Amazon,
Yeah.
and that you just didn't see them.
I do believe that there are some megafauna out there that are yet to be found, that are in low populations.
Like you believe in the sloth, the giant sloth.
I believe that has
Yeah.
and again, that's like the thylacine. It's a proven animal. It's been 10,000 years, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be extant in certain remote areas. Same with some of these big snakes. Maybe not 50, because maybe these things are embellished, but maybe 30, maybe 35, right? And I just think that there are a few, not a lot, of these big things out there. If you're one of these uncontacted Amazonian tribes, of which there are still several, West Papuan tribes, whatever, and you're seeing a 50-foot snake, nobody in the Western world, we're not hearing about that.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
those things can be happening and those stories get embellished and passed on and all of that, but we wouldn't even know until Western science gets in there. And it's sort of a double-edged sword, because once it does, it sort of ruins certain aspects of that, right? So, but I do believe that there are big animals to be found still.
Okay, that was scary. Next, we have legendary author and researcher Graham Hancock. He shared archaeological mysteries hidden deep in the Amazon that suggest advanced civilizations existed thousands of years before we thought possible. His evidence for lost cities and sophisticated ancient technology buried beneath the jungle canopy left Joe Rogan questioning everything we've been told about human history.
So what I see in the Amazon is traces of a lost science, a scientific mindset. Can I show some pictures of these
Please,
geoglyphs?
please.
We have to hook up the magical
HDMI?
and I'll just show a few slides of them. I forget which side the HDMI is in. I think it's in that side.
Careful with the water.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay. Are we on screen?
We will be momentarily. Here we go.
Yeah, so this shows the Amazon, 6.7 million square kilometers. There's still 5.5 million left covered by rainforest. That's bigger than the entire subcontinent of India, and hardly any archaeology has been done. And the archaeology that is being done is fascinating. And it's particularly in the state of Acre, in the southwest of Brazil, that we're seeing these extraordinary geoglyphs. Now, I'm on the left there. That's Martti Parsanen from the University of Helsinki. And that is Fabio Filho, who's the LiDAR expert. And that's Alceu Ranzi, who's a Brazilian geographer and archaeologist. And we're looking at the latest LiDAR discoveries. And there I'm about to take off in a plane with these two guys. It was just incredible to fly over there. I've flown over the Nazca lines many times, but to fly over this and to see these huge earthworks on a scale of hundreds of meters sitting there, often encroached on by farms was very, very, very exciting.
And what's the conventional explanation for these things?
There is no conventional explanation because really it's only begun to be studied. I'll say you first noticed them on an overflight more than 20 years ago, but it's only relatively recently that they've started to get the funding. And I want to pay tribute to Eugene Zhong, who is a philanthropist who has provided funding for these guys to continue their work, and who's also provided funding to the Comet Research Group, and who's also provided funding for the DMT research that's being done at UCSD.
What's his name?
Eugene Zhong. He's a brilliant
Eugene
guy.
Zhong. Way to
J-H-O-N-G. He's a brilliant philanthropist, and he's so open-minded, and he's looking to support research in areas that the mainstream just won't touch.
That's amazing.
So
Good
we're
for
looking at
him.
Fazenda Cipoal here, where we have an octagon with rounded corners. And then this is Santa's shot of the same place. And you can see what's going on. You see shots of Jacosa. You can see there's a large square earthwork and a circle in it. That's almost, not quite, but almost like the Greek exercise of squaring the circle. It's like geometrical exercises are taking place here in the Amazon. Again, a square with these curious scallops cut into the side of it and a circle. There's just so much of this of this stuff. Taquino, absolutely giant geoglyph. And these things really, on the old view of the Amazon, shouldn't exist. They involve enormous expenditure of effort. Creating these earthworks is a huge job. If there was a lot of stone in the Amazon, I think we'd see stone circles on them as well. There's one place further north called Rego Grande where there is an earthwork with a stone circle in it because stone is locally available.
So do you think this was the base of a structure? Like, what is the speculation?
No, I don't think so. I've talked to indigenous people there who still respect and revere them. And they say that they were for shamanic journeying, that the population would gather within them, that there would be certain areas that might be reserved for the shamans. For example, the square on the left, those two cut-out areas, top left and right of that square, it suggested that shamans were in there and the rest of the population were in the other area, and they were undertaking visionary journeys, perhaps using ayahuasca. Of course, the Amazonian peoples are experts in the properties of indigenous plants.
So this is their folklore, or this is their story?
Yes, this is the story of indigenous
so that's
indigenous
what they
people.
say,
I talked to an Apurina elder, and he said, we don't know exactly why these places were made. They were made so long ago, but we respect them, we revere them, and we think that they were used by shamans in the distant past.
So they were aware of them before the clearing and
Yeah,
everything?
they were aware of them before the clearing, and
Did
they
they use
revered
them?
them. Yes, they used them, and they still have community gatherings in them. No, they weren't a base for structures. I'm drawing attention here to Severino Calazans, this large square on the left there, which has coincidentally the same footprint as the Great Pyramid of Giza. It just shows you the size of that enormous earthwork. But it's a mystery. More work needs to be done, and much more needs to be surveyed. And thanks to LiDAR, that can be done non-invasively. We can spot these things. Very small teams can go in and do a bit of excavation there and figure out what was going on. I think the story is going to go back further and further into the past.
Is there any evidence of wood structures? Like, did they make buildings out of wood back then?
Not that I'm aware of.
When did people start using wood as a structure?
I think you can trace wood back as a structure hundreds of thousands of years.
But when did they start using it in, like, if you see like the ancient Mayan civilizations, what you find in the Amazon, you don't find ancient wood structures, do you?
I think that's largely an artifact of the fact that wood doesn't preserve very well.
Right. So how do we know that there weren't wood structures?
There may well have been.
Over these.
There may well have been, which
Right.
have just rotted away
Right.
and gone. There may well have been wooden structures there.
Because it kind of looks like foundations.
It does look like foundations, and it's just a very weird thing. But I think the main point is
Someone made it.
Someone made it,
Yeah.
and it involved a very large amount of organized labor in order to make it. There had to be the will and the intent in order to do that. It's interesting that the patterns are geometrical.
And are they geometrical, like with the perfect length? And
Yes,
like
yes, they're very
match up with each other?
They're very, very good. Fazenda Piranha and Severina Calazans are both aligned to true astronomical north. That's different from compass north. That requires astronomy. You can't get true north without using astronomy. So this tells us not only was there a culture that was capable of creating large-scale public projects, but also they had astronomers amongst them.
Wow.
It's a good mystery. The other thing is the geometrical patterns are very common experience in ayahuasca visions in altered states of consciousness. Our culture tends to despise altered states of consciousness, although fortunately that's changing. But in the Amazon and many indigenous cultures, they're regarded as extremely important, that we can't confine ourselves to the everyday wide awake state of consciousness that requires us to interface with the physical world. There are other states of consciousness which are also valuable and which bring teachings. And it's just one of those facts that most people who drink ayahuasca, most of the time, at some point will experience geometrical visions. So there's a question, is there a connection here between the use of ayahuasca and the geometrical patterns? There's a huge rock wall has been found in the Colombian Amazon, Serra de la Lindosa, which I'm hoping to get to this year. 8 kilometers long, covered in rock paintings. The rock paintings are dated more than 12,000 years old. They show extinct megafauna. They show giant sloths which went extinct during the Younger Dryas, for example. And they also show the kind of entities that are seen in ayahuasca visions. They show the same sort of patterns, the same geometric patterns that are seen in ayahuasca. So there's a sense that...
Do you have any images of this place?
Serra de la Lindosa.
You're connected to the...
Yeah, I don't have images of La Lindosa.
Oh, maybe you could Google it.
But if
or give the plug
Yeah,
back
I'll
to
give
Jamie.
the plug back. I was trying to Google it and I didn't find anything. And I might have spelled or guessed wrong on Serra
How do you spell it?
de
La Lindosa.
La Lindosa?
Yeah. Let me just...
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
You're going to have to give him the cord real quick, and then he'll give it back to you.
Okay. There you go. It's literally an 8-kilometer Sistine Chapel in the Colombian Amazon. That's the other thing. I mentioned there's not a lot of rock in the Amazon. Where there is rock, they used it. There's rock paintings all over the Amazon where rock is available. These kind of things. Yeah, that's it. These are characteristic of ayahuasca visions, but in this case, they're more than 12,000 years old. Now, does that prove they were using ayahuasca 12,000 years ago? No. But
That's very similar to like a tryptamine vision, though.
Totally. It does suggest that some tryptamine was being accessed at that time and resulting in these visionary images.
Boy, they shitty drawers, weren't they? Their drawing was terrible.
But bear in mind that they're clambering 100 feet up a sheer cliff in order to
Guys, do a better job. It's ridiculous.
Create these paintings.
The people were so fat. Are those people or sea turtles? What are those things? It's really interesting to see. So this is 11,000. How old?
12,000.
12,000 plus.
Yeah, 12,000 plus years old.
It's interesting because if you see the paintings that they found in that cave in France, those are 30 plus thousand years old.
Oh yeah,
right?
there's paintings in France. If you go to Chauvet, you're looking 36,000 years old.
Can you go to those, Jamie?
Hohenstein-Stadel in Germany.
That's that amazing Werner Herzog documentary.
They often have.
I think was the Cave of Dreams.
Cave of Dreams.
Yes.
Yeah. They often
Look at
have.
that.
We're looking at Lascaux. Hang on the. Yeah, we're looking at Lascaux there. The bull painting there is interesting.
Were better artists.
They were.
They were.
I have to confess,
they were quite a bit better.
This art is very good. If you go, Jamie, if you go to the NPR, the painting of a bull, one step left from where you are, that one. This is very interesting. There has been an argument made by a couple of astronomers that what is depicted there is the constellation of Taurus, and that in itself is heresy, because archaeologists who want to give everything to the Greeks say that it was the Greeks who invented the constellations of the zodiac, and not shown.
Why do they think that represents the constellation?
Because of the 6 little dots, which are not, I think, on the head. I think they're somewhere behind, not in this picture, which is often how the Pleiades are seen. They're seen. Actually, there are 7 Pleiades, but often to the naked eye you see 6. And the positioning of the Pleiades in relation to the constellation of Taurus is
that it right there?
Is the basis for that argument. It could be. I'm not sure. It's so long since I've looked at this, but I know that there are six dots there. So this cave art was going on all around the world. It's found that some of the oldest art has been found in Indonesia.
Oh, here it is. Here's the.
Yeah, there's the Pleiades. The whole argument about the Pleiades. It's those dots exactly. The ones you pointed to above the back of the bull. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is how the Pleiades are often seen with the naked eye.
Can you go back to the other image? Yeah. Wow.
That it's an argument. It's not accepted by mainstream archaeology because of their narrative, which is that the discovery of the constellations of the zodiac is given to the Greeks or perhaps to the Mesopotamians before the Greeks. It's not thought that any human culture could have noticed the constellations of the zodiac before that, and that's really absurd because the constellations of the zodiac are on the path of the sun. The sun rises against the background of a different constellation every month. And how would the ancients have missed that, especially since the skies were an ever-present phenomenon to them in a way that they are not to us.
Right.
We're cut off from the skies by light pollution, but the ancients were not.
What a fascinating concept that they knew about the constellations 30,000+ years ago.
Yeah, and I believe they did. And we see that again in Göbekli Tepe, in Pillar 43 in Enclosure D. You see a constellation that we recognize as Sagittarius.
Up next, we have another story from Paul Rosolie, where he shared his most death-defying moments from years of living in the Amazon.
I was very lost and very alone, and I was like on like day 6 or something of being lost. I don't remember. No, it wasn't that long of a solo. But I was lost and I was scared. And I was in a
How
hammock.
did you get lost?
Well, as soon as you leave the river, like you could literally walk 15 feet and then be like, I'm just going to come right back. And the jungle will like Blair Witch you. Because it's all green. So you just like think you know what you're doing. Just last week, I wanted to cross from one trail to another trail. And I was like, I'm a guide. I can do this. And I came back out on the same trail like a half hour later. And I was like, yep, that's what I meant to do. Let's go. And like, it happens to JJ all the time.
Really?
You cannot find your way in the
Do
jungle.
you use a compass?
Don't use a compass.
Why not?
Because actually, apparently some of the iron content and some of the saps in the trees pulls the needle. It doesn't work really well.
Even the trees are trying to trick you. Oh my God.
GPSs run out of batteries. You know, it's like you really you have to learn your bushcraft. You have to learn how to navigate in the jungle, and it's like which is pretty much you have to get just amazing at dead reckoning and remembering your course, because it's so dense that like we play with people. We go, go see if you can go from here to there. And it's like they can't go there. They can't do that as soon as you leave the river. So like I had gone out on this solo, gotten lost, gotten scared, and then been like, oh shit, what if I just like into the wilded myself? What if now I'm gonna be the next kid that went and died in the Amazon? And like I like slept in the hammock, but this is like as I was learning, so I didn't realize that the hammock that I had bought had a mosquito net on top, but the back was not mosquito proof. So they could stick through. So my back was being destroyed by mosquitoes as I'm trying to sleep. And like a couple of nights of that. And so I finally fall asleep and I wake up in the middle of the night and I hear breathing right next to my face. And I like wanted to turn my headlamp on. And I just hear like right here. Like I could feel her breath. And I was like 6 inches away from a jaguar's face. And she just like, and then left. And she just came in. She wanted to see what that was. She was like, you're not going to move. That's what you're not going to do. She growled like right into my ear. And then later on. But that one's cute, though. That's a cute picture. That's a cute jag.
Wow. And they vary in colors and the spots and everything, right? Like some of them are much darker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, actually somebody recently was like, where do you see panthers? And I went on this whole thing of like, a leopard or a jaguar, just like you can have albinos. You have a melanistic one. Yeah.
Wow.
So like people would call that a panther, but a panther's not a real, there's no animal that's a panther. It's like a Kleenex. It's like it's just another name for it.
That is so beautiful.
But a black
Look
jag.
at that thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah, in South India they have the black leopards.
What an
are
amazing
stunning.
looking animal.
Look at the muscles.
Yeah, it's an amazing killing machine. And so humans don't get taken out by them?
I can only really speak for our region of the Amazon, but I haven't even heard a story about it.
Really?
Like no one Like no one. Our jags are just, we have like record numbers of jags. Like I think they're listed as near threatened, and we have like some of the strongest remaining jaguar populations in the world. It's incredible.
And
Like,
you
they're-
barely see them.
We barely see them. The last one I saw was 2 years ago, and some people like go their whole lives without seeing them.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because people walk off into the jungle and they don't realize people. It's so funny living in the wild and seeing people show up there, and it's like people come and they're like, they smell like shampoo and cologne and bug spray and deodorant, and they're just like, if to an animal that has such better senses than we do, they might as well just have like sirens on them, and like you are this shiny glittering foghorn of attention in the jungle, and like every animal's going to run away from you. And so people are always like, how come you go out and you see so much stuff? And it's like, I only shower in the river. I live out in the jungle. I smell like they do. Like I'm out there for weeks, and it's like I'm not going and like shampooing my hair. It's like, and so like to these animals, like they know when you're coming. Like a jag's just gonna be like, oh, there's a human there.
Do you wash with soap when you wash in the river?
I do use a biodegradable soap. You have to keep your skin clean, or else you just get infections. But like for the most part, like my clothing, everything, like I don't use anything that's scented, because of that. Because I want to be out there and just blend in. And that's whether I'm out in the field with elephants, or whether you're out in in Africa or India, or whether you're in the Amazon. I want to be sort of like included. I want to blend in. And so like not that long ago, I was checking a camera trap, and I thought it was we had students at our research station at the time, and I heard like the leaves going like, and it was like September, so the jungle was dry. And I turned around and I was going to scare this person, because I was going to be like, who walks that loud in the jungle? Like, you have no respect. And I turned around with my finger up, and this jag walked right by me on the trail and just went, what's up? And just kept walking. And I was like, finger up. And I was like, okay.
Oh, Lord.
But I took that as good, because at least I was, my like scent trail was so that he didn't know I was there. I could see it on his face. He didn't care. He was like, hey. But I mean, he was 6 feet away. He didn't even break his stride. He just walked by me and was like, yo, what's up?
They don't think of you as food, so they
No.
just keep moving.
No, and I think they're, with big cats, they're the mothers teach the young how to hunt, and I think they're so oriented, like with tigers, they're so oriented on horizontal, get the neck from underneath, break the neck from up top. And it's like when they see a vertical animal walking by, I think they're like, first of all, I don't know what this is. Second of all, it smells weird. Third of all, where do I even, you got to be desperate to take that risk. I don't think that lions are a different story, but with jags, with tigers, with leopards, I've never ever felt any fear being around a jaguar, like any fear. I don't even take pictures of them. I just enjoy it.
Wow.
I let other people take pictures. If I'm with people, I'll let them take pictures, but I like will not lift my camera for a jag. I'll just stand there and just
Just take it in.
Yeah. You get to see them so rarely. I don't want to sit there finally seeing one and then put another screen in front of my face.
Right.
Look through it through some glass. Like,
Whoa.
yeah. Yeah, that's our camera.
They've
traps.
started to, that's from yours?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that thing.
Yeah.
That is so majestic. What an amazing
Ooh, yeah.
animal. Those glowing eyes.
Well, that's the crazy thing. You shine your headlamp into the night, and then when things look back at you, you got to wonder what it is. It's like,
Well, when there's two eyes in the front, it's
two eyes in
predator.
the front, yeah. But sometimes the deer, but then the jags do this thing where they move their head like this. They try and see around your headlamp. They'll like do this little side to side thing. Like the deer, they'll just blink at you. They'll just blink, and so you start learning the eye shines. You start learning the, because then you can be out there at night and you look at something and people are like, oh shit, dude, it's a jag, and it's like, no, it's a deer.
When you were saying that the uncontacted tribe were speaking in monkey calls,
Yeah.
what are they doing?
So, JJ's dad used to tell us, he said, if you're ever out in the forest and something doesn't sound right, he was like, get out of there. And he was like, because they will use the tinamou calls, like the undulated tinamou is like, but like, we know what that sounds like, but we also know what it doesn't sound like. And so like every now and then you'll hear one that's, different. And like we all get freaked out because we're like, that's how we do it. That's how JJ taught me to do it. Like if there was a bunch of tourists right there and JJ wanted me to come over and like chill with him and we wanted to go hang, he would just do that. You'd get my attention. And like, I know that it's not a tinamou. I know it's JJ. And so it's like, they've taken that to a whole nother level where they can communicate. And so there was a group of guys who was upriver and they got surrounded. They heard monkey calls coming from different directions. and they realized that they were completely surrounded. And like at least one of the guys who was telling it to me, he got in the water and like crawled like a turtle and like escaped. And then the tribe showed up, and then there's this whole showdown where they actually shot one of the community members, and then one of the guys who knows some of their language was saying that it looked like they were mad with the guy that shot the guy. They were mad with him. Like they were like, why did you do that? Now there's going to be retaliation. Like, why did you shoot him? And like there was like a whole discussion happening while these people were like huddled in the stream waiting to see if they got killed too. So it's like, I don't really, like, so when you get these loggers going in there, it's like, yo, we'll pay you to protect the rainforest. And like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be going into these areas that are that dangerous. So yeah, so at this point now though, through all of this though, we've established jungle keepers. We have 50,000 acres. We're trying to do 300,000 acres. And if we can do that, we'll basically be helping to establish one of the largest protected areas in the Amazon rainforest, which will encompass these uncontacted people, and they can stay uncontacted and they can stay safe and do whatever they want to do in the jungle, guarding the secret pyramids and the giant ground sloths or whatever the hell it is that they do. But we're close.
Now, how many uncontacted tribes are they aware of?
I think there's like over 100 different groups across the Amazon. There's also varying degrees of, and the other thing is the conversation so often gets turned to like they're violent, and that they're people that live out in the jungle, and I have no idea how they do it either, because at night we need headlamps. We don't have night vision. All the animals have night vision, so it's like, what do they do that night? They're able to make fire in the jungle at night every day. If I gave you an entire book of matches, me and you. We sat down right now in the jungle. I was like, okay, cool. You got a machete and a book of matches. First one to make fire wins. We couldn't do it. It's wet. Everything is wet. So how are they? What's their? Are they doing bow drill? What are they doing?
We don't know.
We don't really know. No. We don't know how they do that. We don't know how they stay infection free. We don't know what they do with their old people. We never see old people. We never really see children. And so like they move around, and we see like groups of men on beaches. We see like that aerial picture where you see like a family group out. That's in turtle season, where you have turtles laying their eggs on the beaches, and the tribes will come out because that's easy food. You just pick up turtle eggs and eat them. But there's so much that we don't know about their lifestyle, and like people get so many things wrong. Just if you leave them alone, then they won't kill you. If then people go, oh, they're Stone Age tribes, and it's like, well, they're not Stone Age tribes because they're alive right now, and you couldn't live out in the jungle, but they can.
Right.
So it's like there's elements of their botanical knowledge, their medicinal knowledge, their creation myths, their view of history. I mean, they're coming at reality from a whole different perspective than we are.
Wow. And there's really no way to get. Does anyone speak their language? Do we know what language they all speak? Is it universal? Do they have different languages?
It's not universal, and there was someone in our region who like captured a child from the uncontacted, raised him in a very remote community, and people have tried, anthropologists have tried, they've been like, hey, so what was it like when you grew up? And it's like, it's dark. He's just like, I don't remember. Like no one's been able to get any information out of him.
How old was he when they captured him?
I think like 6. Like under 10 for sure.
Does he not remember? Does he just not want to talk about it?
I don't know. There's all these underlying stories. Oh man, yeah. There's just. Then last year, some loggers went to a place they shouldn't have gone, and they got whacked. And sort of like the WhatsApp underground in Peru. Like everyone was sending each other pictures because one of the cops like sent to his family a picture of what the bodies looked like on like day 6, laying on the beach with arrows in them and shit. And it was like, oh my god. It was like this. It makes you stay in bed at night. You're just like, I'm not going out.
Jesus.
But I mean, yeah, it's a complicated topic because there's people that want to contact them. There's people that want to leave them alone. And then, of course, there's missionaries that are like, they need the Bible.
What did you think about Lost City of Z?
I loved the book. I wanted more from the movie. Of
course.
Yeah.
There's only so much time and
yeah.
Hollywood fuckery.
Oh, God. The book was fantastic. And that guy was out of his mind.
Out of his mind.
Out of his mind.
Yeah.
Percy Fawcett.
Yeah.
Percy Fawcett. But like the fact that he could go on those expeditions and not get infected. I've been brutally like. Hold on, let me show you. I'll show you this picture. I don't think there's any way of pulling this up, but like,
Oh my god!
like the jungle just gets into your skin.
Ugh, what is that on your face?
MRSA infection. It like started.
Oh.
It started like mosquito bites, and then I would scratch, and then you don't realize you're spreading it with your fingernails. And you like go like this and shit, and then, I mean, I almost died from that. Like that was, but I was staying in the jungle to like take care of an anteater. But it's like,
How did you get free of that? Like, if you're in the jungle, did you use antibiotics?
go home?
You just go home.
I
You
had
have
to go home at that point. I remember I got to JFK, and the guy, he like looked down at my passport. He goes, "Yeah, what were you doing in Peru?" And then he looked up at me and he goes, "Buddy, what the fuck?" And I was like, "I'm just trying to get it." And he like stamped it. He was like, "Go, go, 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 go." He's like, "Go to the doctor." I can't believe they let me through.
Right. You could have been infected with some crazy plague.
Could have had like monkey Ebola. Like
Yeah.
it looked bad, and I spent days in the hospital. Like it was really really bad. But for Percy Fawcett to not, they would say like other people would be dying. There was somebody, I think the guy's name was Murray. He came from the Shackleton XP. He'd already been out with Shackleton, so he was like, "I'm a real explorer," and he didn't last any time with Fawcett, because Percy Fawcett was just like, "You can't keep up, go die. You can go die with the mules." Like he just wouldn't stop. So my question is like, did he go out and eventually get killed, or did he eventually go out and like find the tribe that made him their king and just?
There's no knowledge.
There's no
right?
knowledge of it.
Yeah, no one really knows what happened to him.
And they
right?
said in that book that over 100 people have died looking for him since he left. Because then the other expeditions that have gone out, all of those have died too.
Up next, we have another story from Forrest Galante. Galante explained how advanced LiDAR technology has revealed that much of the Amazon rainforest was actually engineered by ancient civilizations. This discovery turns our understanding of human history and environmental science completely upside down.
Yeah.
The really wild stuff that's being done in the Amazon is LiDAR.
Oh, I
where-
know.
Where they're finding all this evidence of these ancient structures that were just overcome by the jungle.
Have you seen the Honduran lost city of the monkey god?
Yes.
So great.
Yeah.
There's a like
that.
legit full civilization in
Yeah.
Honduras, like a bustling city that they found in LiDAR 2 or 3 years ago, using LiDAR 2 or 3 years ago.
Just
like,
empty.
empty.
Gone.
But
Yeah.
like a full scale city, not like a village or a town,
Yeah.
like tens of thousands. Yeah, look at that.
Fucking wild.
Yeah.
But it totally makes sense, man. If you bring in smallpox, I mean, smallpox kills like 90% of the people that get it.
Right.
So it just fucking decimated the populations of these places where these European settlers made through. That's the whole story behind the lost city of Z, you know.
I knew that the city went away and Percy,
Yeah.
Percy went to look for it with his son and his son's friend, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize that the idea that smallpox had wiped it out was the reason behind
Well,
it.
the theory behind it is, and all sorts of diseases, not just smallpox, but that when the Europeans first came through and they first reported about these immense cities,
They were there.
Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
And so then when people came back like 100 years later, they're like, this is bullshit.
Right.
Because the jungle would just overcome everything.
And it can in so little time.
So little time.
It's crazy. The rate of growth,
Yeah.
when the jungle's left alone is unbelievable.
And then there's the weirdness that the jungle itself is actually man-made.
Whoa, hold on. I don't know about this.
You didn't know that?
No, tell me.
Yes. Most of the plants that are overwhelming the rainforest are from agriculture. They're
From ancient civilizations.
Yeah, I think it's like the ice cream bean tree and a bunch of other different trees. But these trees were all trees that had been grown. Yes, it is actually man-made. One of thousands of earthworks built by remarkable but little-known ancient societies. The Amazon, prior to the arrival of Europeans in the Americas in 1492, is commonly depicted as a pristine wilderness dotted with small, simple communities.
Wow.
The Amazon rainforest created. Click on that one. The supposedly pristine, untouched Amazon rainforest was actually shaped by humans. Over thousands of years, native people played a strong role in molding the ecology of this vast wilderness. So these trees that overwhelm the rainforest, they were planted.
They're cultivated.
Yeah, and then they just run amok. you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, they're just really fertile, and the ground. They had developed this type. What's it called? Terra preta. Terra preta, is that what it's called? They had developed a very specific type of soil that they actually it's a
Yes,
soil that
I know
actually,
about this.
Yeah.
And we've been unable to replicate it.
Exactly,
Yes, I
yeah.
do know a bit about that. Yeah. But I guess the
Terra
difference
preta. Yeah,
Terra
that's it.
preta. But I guess the difference being those were all native plants, right? So while the Amazon may have been cultivated by different tribes in the Amazon, they're not getting those plants or trees from anywhere but the immediate surrounding area, right? I mean, maybe not immediate, but within the South Americas.
I'm not exactly sure.
Right? Because it's not like they're importing olives from Spain, right? Like they're using the resources.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying they're invasive. I'm just thinking they're cultivated.
But that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You certainly don't think of that. And you don't think of, at least in today's world, I don't think of the Amazon as being populous. I mean, I'm not talking about Manaus and cities.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the wild Amazon. You don't think of civilizations being able to impact that much vastness.
Graham Hancock thinks there was 20 million people living in it.
20 million?
Yeah.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
He thinks it is a vast society.
Wow.
It was filled with human beings and structures, and this is all being like, they have only used LiDAR in a very small percentage of the Amazon.
Of course, yeah.
And they're showing all sorts of structures
Wow.
and irrigation systems and grids that indicate cities and blocks. It's wild stuff, man.
I mean, it sort of makes sense in the sense of the abundance of resources down there, right? It's easy to grow a population when you have so much natural resources. Everything that you plant grows. There's another side of that argument that I've heard paleontologists make, where like when things are too easy, people don't evolve, right? That's a different side of that coin. But if you think about it from like a logical standpoint of when things are easy, it's easy to increase your population. And, when you're not fighting for survival every day because there's coconuts and palm trees and blah, 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 it's easy to reproduce and have more kids and grow a society.
Yeah.
Versus when you're spending half of your life just trying to get by.
That's an interesting argument, that when things are easy, that people don't grow or evolve. That seems weird to me, because it would seem to me that once your resources were taken care of, once you have food and shelter, you have more time to think. So you have more time to make life convenient, more time to sell goods that would be valuable to people, more time to improve and innovate on those goods.
But the argument is, when things are too easy, you don't push the status quo. So because there are so many abundant resources, you have no need to develop tools and technologies that advance society. So the argument, I don't remember the scientist that said this, is basically if you look along the band of the equator, those are, at this time, and this is an older publication, I believe, those were the least developed societies in the world. As you get further away from the equator, up into the not the Arctic, but like up into Scandinavia and so on and so forth, you get more and more advanced civilizations. Because when there's a hard winter coming, or it's just harder to survive, even though there's abundant resources, you need to adapt and overcome and develop in order to prepare for that winter, in order to prepare for a famine time period, versus when it's all just available to you at any time.
The reason why that doesn't make any sense is Egypt.
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, because that's the absolutely most sophisticated culture, but what we understand of history.
Yeah, true. But not on the equator. It is quite far from the equator.
It is far from the equator, but it's also like very, very lush.
Very.
Like the Nile Valley, they think, 9,000 plus years ago was like extremely lush.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why they were able to reach this high level of sophistication, because they had access to resources.
Which aligns with the idea that the Amazon had the same things.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, by the way. I think that if you have an abundance of food and resources, you have a better ability to create.
Yeah, that's what that makes more sense to me, but I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think both things could exist.
I agree.
Like, you could have it too easy, or you could have it to the point where there's plenty of food to hunt and gather, and you see no need to move out of the hunter-gatherer stage.
Sure.
But then you could also see like super sophisticated societies that lived in that area, like they think the Amazon was.
Right. Right.
That they would innovate.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it makes
also,
sense.
you have a large population. Even if it's a small percentage of people innovating, it's gonna impact the great number of people.
If you have enough people, there's going to be people that are creating, right?
Yeah.
There's no way there aren't.
Yeah, and then people came through there with their coughed on everybody and fucking killed them off.
And that's that.
This is really wild, man. It's really wild if that is true. That how horrific that is, that they just basically reset everybody back to the Stone Age.
And if you think about, has that happened before, and will it happen again?
Yeah.
I remember distinctly thinking, well, at first, I think might have told you this story. When COVID hit, I was in Indonesia, and I was like, this is stupid. It's like bird flu. It'll all be over in 10 days. And boy, was I